Let's get start demo first of quiz app in .NET Blazor WebAssembly or wasm and Firebase DB. Right, so here my application got running, and here we can see the start quiz. So whatever quiz questions over here I can able to see, and if I select anyone, so if it is wrong, so it will show us okay it is a wrong, but what is the right questions, that also will be appear. Once I click the next, so it will click that it will appearing the next options, means next question. And once I click that another options, so it will says okay it is wrong and this is right. And once you click the next, so now it is appearing that another questions, and once I click that correct questions, now if it is correct, so it will show as the correct options, right, as like this. And once you complete, means there is a 3 question only, right? So once you complete, it will show only that show result, means whatever that result you have done, means whatever that score you got, so you will get it over here. So once you click show result, you will get that score over here, right? So like that you can just see this application. We will build this application along with over here another tab which we have implement. So whatever as a questions we have as of now, we can also manage that questions, like whatever questions their answer we can manage over here. Like if you want to new questions, so just click on that, you can add that new questions and along with their options. And also if you want to remove, so you can just remove it, and if you want to add, so you can add the more options over here, like that. And similar, if you go back over here, if you want to update something, some questions, also there's options. Actually you can just whatever questions, there's options. If you want to add more options over here, you can just simply add it over here, and whatever that correct options you can choose over here, and you can save it. So like that you can completely manage your quiz app in Blazor WebAssembly. So also whatever questions we have, that is getting from that Firebase DB. So whatever question we have added newly, so that also will be stored in our Firebase DB. So that also we can see over here, like see there is some sections, like there's an answer section, there's a question section, and there's a result sections. So whatever questions now we have, now see we have 3 questions along with their options, right? And also we have answer that particular questions has that particular answer, so that we have stored, so that we can only once choose that option, so we can directly getting from the data from the database and check that. And also finally once you submit it, so you can just get it the data along with the date, right? So whatever date you will get it, so using that date you will get that answer as well. So see that particular date time, you will get that how many times you are actually trying to attempt that questions, right? So those also we can store as a result, so that we can show to the user. So this will be implement in this session, complete implementation. So before it start, I'm especially recommend, if you first time visit my channel, so please go to my channel, which is .NET Real World Example, and there is a many section. Actually I just covered for that .NET MAUI app with the Firebase DB, .NET Blazor hybrid app with the Firebase DB. So those are section you can just go through, right? You can just go through this section, and with the authentication also we have covered. And also see there is how we can implement that Firebase authentication in login, registration, sign out. Same things we have to done also in the .NET MAUI application as well, right? And also we have set some rules how we can secure our data using that rules. So those are things also we have covered. So you can just go through those things and you can check out. And apart from this also, I already covered like Blazor WebAssembly along with that complete Firebase DB hotel management system. So you can, if you first time you're trying to implement or learn to Firebase DB, how we can implement in .NET, so you can learn from here as well. So those are just recommendations, you can just follow over there. So now we can start. So already we have covered one session which is on a Blazor quiz app, but that quiz app we have implement only just in memory data, not that Firebase data, right? So that Firebase data we will implement over here. So same example we are taking over here, like in my GitHub channel, so you can just take it, right? So this is that same example. So I'm just trying to open this application, and this is my application got open, right? This is nothing, just simple as a Blazor web applications, means Blazor WASM application, right? You can see the .NET SDK Blazor WebAssembly. and this have nothing much. Okay, only just we have just implement one home page, and we have some put some logic, and we have just on in memory data, and we are trying to do. So let's see how actually working that currently this current application, and after that we will just modify with this our Firebase DB. So let me run it. Now my application got running. Now see, this is a quiz app, but without Firebase DB. It is just simple in memory data. So once I click this, so see, same functionality over here in memory as well. So once you click, so you will get that options like what are that correct answer, what is that wrong answer, what is the total of that out of that questions, right? So those things is in memory, but we will implement over here. So let's just start. So before we start, you have to just create one database in this console Firebase DB. So logged in your Google account, and just open with the console Firebase Google account, and you can just create a new project over here. But yeah, I already covered in a many session. You can go to there, so I will not create a new project, but yeah, it's very simple. Just create and just set everything, and this that's fine. Okay, so I will use that existing one. So this is that one we will use. So here nothing, just I just create a real-time database, right? So here this real-time database I have just created, along with I set that rules, right? As of now, just all the rules I set, actually everyone can just read, right? Read and write, so everyone have an access. So that also will be protected in upcoming session. But yeah, this is the sample database. We just real-time database we have to create it. We will use this guy. Okay, so simply I can just copy this guy and go to my applications, and here what I will do, instead of mess up on this application, this current implementation, I have to just create a new let me stop that. Let me create a new component, new result component over here. And in this component, what I will do, I'll just simply just can create a name, the quiz. So let me create a name over here. I will show you that from the scratch, so that you have idea actually how we can use it. Okay, so now our quiz app got created, right? Miss quiz component got created, and here simply what I can do, I can just set as a page directory over here, and I can just remove this guy because we don't require. And for this, actually for that Firebase DB connectivity, we required actually Firebase client, right? So those Firebase client, we have a one library, so that library I have to use, and the NuGet package means I have to install that NuGet package. So go to that NuGet package, search for Firebase, this guy, see, Firebase database.net. So this is that package which will allow actually see complex C# library, real-time data built in on top the Firebase REST API, among with the others support followers, right? So that I can use it for that connectivity and store the data and get the data, right? So yeah, accepted. And once it's done, now go back to over here, and you have to just injected that Firebase client on the in this component, so that I can use it. And we have to record one namespace, so just bring that namespace, and this namespace I will keep it in our common or global place, so that I don't need specify that all that components, because this client actually I record that other components as well, right? So that is done. And once you inject it, now I have to inject it other service as well, like navigation manager, so that I can navigate to other place as well. So once it's done, so first of all, I will just create a questions list, right? So for that questions list, I have to create one model for that, right? So let me just create a questions over here. So what I need to do, I have to just simply create a new folder, and in this folder just store as a model, and in this model just add a class and just add that questions, right? So this is that questions class, and in this question class, whatever that options we record, means whatever the property we record, so that we can store it. Like see, in this questions we record ID, whatever the ID that particular questions, what are the text means what are the questions, like what is that questions, right? So that we can store in the text. And this is that options means whatever that options that particular questions, like one question has a five options, six options, so whatever options I have to take the list of the string, right? So that is done. Now once it's done, now go back, right? And here I have to just mention or I've just set that variable over here, right? Means that create a variable and bring that namespace of that model, and also this model I have to move it to my global place, right? So that I don't need to declare all that components. So go back here, come back again that quiz component, and here other property also we have to declare. Like first we have to declare that questions which we'll trying to bind over here, and then we required one property which we have set it, like what is that current question index. So like suppose I have a 3 questions, so whatever questions like first index, second index, third index, so that we will store. So from here, and by default we have to set it to 0, right? And then also we have to record one score field so that I can just getting that score, like if you correct answer, choose that correct answer, so I can just store I can store that score property, whatever that is here. And I have to use is loading button, so that if take some time to loading the data, so I can show some style and some loading image and all, right? So that we have to do that. And also another property we need, that is answer. So if answer is answering, we have that answering that question, so we have to set it over here. So by default it is false, but yeah, we have to use. And also we have to record another property that is has answer, means if I complete that answer, right? So that we have to store over here, right? And then also we record one more field or one more property. This is correct. So if it is correct or not, means it is correct or wrong, right? So not correct and not correct, so that we have to store over here, and based on this we can use it, right? And then we have to record another property which is just storing that correct answer index. Like suppose whatever correct answer index which is correct or not, so that we have to storing as an index property in this correct answer, right? So suppose there's a 4 options, so what is that correct index, right? So that we have to store over here. And then finally the last property we have to need over here, that is select answer indexes. Whatever that answer we have to got selected, means whatever options or whatever answer actually we have to select it, right? So that answer we can store as an index over here, right? So these are property actually we required. So as of now, if it is not clear, don't worry. Once I implement, once I create a functions, definitely you will get an idea what we are trying to do. Okay, so now we have to create one method which will actually call our now Firebase DB and get the data, like whatever the questions we have, that we can just get it over here. So like that we are using the load quiz data over here, right? And the first actually we have to set over here this guy, like is loading true. Like suppose once we have to complete load this function, so that till now we have to show that is loading, and based on the is loading we have to actually shows that some image and all, right? So that user can wait, right? And we can just use the try catch, right? So that if any error and all, so that we can just also make sure like we can catching over here, right? And then here I will use await, right? And in this await and Firebase client, right? Whatever Firebase client we have just is now injected over here, this guy, so that client we have to use, right? And dot we have to use child, right? And in this child, whatever that collection, like for example if you go back over here, see this questions collections be required, right? So that's why we have to just use this guy, copy and go back over here. So whatever name you prefer your collections, so you can just use it. As of now I will using this guy, so you can just use as per your, right? And then I will use over here once async, right? In this once asyncs, there's a passing that what kind of we have to deserialize as well, right? Suppose whatever questions we are getting, so we have to deserialize, right? So that we have to just passing as a type over here. So these are actually this questions model, right? So this I want to deserialize and just storing over here, and I will just store as a variable whatever returning the data from that Firebase. So I'm using as a snapshot, and here once I get that snapshot, right, so let me use this guy over here and dot select, and then using the link query over here and just using that item. So whatever item I'm getting, so each item has a item object, right? So in this item object we have to get it over here, and then finally is to list, it will return that to list all that item object, because Firebase DB actually that returning the data is this in this object, right? So that's why I'm just getting that select that object, and then we have to overing over here, and then finally this is that variable, right, which we have set it, so that we have to assigning over here, and we can get the data, all that Firebase DB we have to data from here. So this is done, and if you have any error and all, we can handle over here. So as of now I'll just keep it a blank over here, and then finally what I am trying to do over here, I will use as a finally block. In this finally block, suppose if any error and all, so what I will do, I will just is loading should be a false, means in this call, means whatever is call, right, so it will complete, so it will go to that finally block and it will set its false, so that loader button or loader image or loader icon has been gone, right? So this is done, so means that quiz method is done. Now what I will do, I have to just call on that this component lifecycle hook method, like on an initialize lifecycle hook method, right? So what I will do, simply I have to call that override method on initialize method async1, and simply I can remove this guy, and I will use await and load data, load quiz data, right? So simply I can use this, I can call from this data, so that initial level I can call it and I can set it over here, and based on this I can just bind in over here. So I will bind over here a little bit later, but yeah, just complete my functionality, so then we will use it. Okay, so now once is done, right, so suppose this options, this list, I just get it the data from Firebase DB and set it, and now we have to create another function which will just, you know, once I show you as a demo, right? So it is gone, yeah, that is gone, but yeah, once I choose any options, right, so once I choose any options, so it is, you know, calling again another DB, which is we are getting the data from that answer, that particular questions has an answer, right? So don't worry about that, those are things we will create actually that another screen or another component where I can just create a questions and along with the answer, so that also we will create it. But yeah, this answer we have to get it from that answer, and we have to actually compare that, you know, whatever that, you know, questions we have selected, so that question answer is actually accurate or just equal or not. So those function, that function actually I have to just create it. So what I need to do for that, I have to just create another function, like for example this, right? So I have just created another function like answer questions, right? And in this answer question we require, you know, two parameter. One is that question ID, the what particular question actually we trying to no, trying to give that answer, right? So that question ID along with the selected answer index, like suppose whatever index I choose, right, that particular options, so that answer index also we are getting from here, right? And then what I have to do, simply I have to check, right? So if is answering or has answer completed, so it will return it, go back over here. If it is not, so then first I will just set it over here, means I am just trying to answering, right? So just start the answering, and then once I answering, so I have to just select answer index, so that I will just set it whatever that selected answer, like this guy, right? So this I just use it over here, right? So this selected answer task I have to set it over here, whatever the selected answer index we are getting over here, right? So that we have to set it over here. So once you set, now we have to use our try catch. In this try catch I will just call our Firebase DB, So again, it's simply I have to call as like we have to call on a load data async, right? So simply I have to just call same things over here, like for example this guy. So let me call this guy like await Firebase client and then child and whatever that collection name, right? And in this collection name we have another things actually, that another child, right? So for example, so let me add as a child, right? And then once I add the child here, I have to pass that particular questions ID, right? So this is question ID that I want to get it over here, so that I will pass it like first I will pass as a child as an answer, right? Means whatever the collections. So this is my collections, right? And in this collection whatever questions, like see these are the questions. So in these questions I have to just pass so that questions over here as a question ID, and then I have to get once, means I want to get that single, right? So there's an extension method of that single, so let me call it that method, and simply I have to pass that collection what I am trying to deserialize. Like see, for example, if you go back to over here, so this is two things we record, like correct option index and as well as question ID, right? So those two things actually we record. So what I need to do as like we have to create another model that questions, so I have to just create another model that is answer. So let me quickly add another uh, class or that model that is answer, and in this answer whatever actually property we required, so this two property we required as a questions and that correct options index, right? So that we have to get it over here and go back and use this answer over here, means answer model over here, and finally close that. So let me close over here, and it is actually required some namespace, that database Firebase query. So I will just use this query because if I using two times, so definitely I record this guy. So let me keep it in our global place so that another component also can reuse this guy. So save it, go back and go down. Now we are getting the data over here, so let me store as answer over here, right? So this is the answer we are getting from the Firebase DB, and once I get, so now I have to check like if it is answer is not null, then we have to put some logic over here, right? So might be could be that answer can be null, right? If it is not match or if this ID is not matched, so definitely I will get that not answer would be null, right? So now what I need to do first over here in this, if it is answer is there, so whatever answer I have, right? So this is the correct index, so that I will store over here. It is a correct answer index which I just created over here, right? So that's why I just created. See, correct answer index means whatever is correct answer from the database I'm getting over here and assigning to over here, right? This is that one things. And another things actually also we have to do, so I have to just storing just is correct property. So what is that is correct property? Suppose whatever that is correct, is correct or fail, might be it should be a no wrong, so user choose the wrong answer, so that means it is should be false, or it is choose the correct one, so it will should be is a true. So based on this we can store. So what I need to do, simply I have to just store that whatever the select answer index, so that I just equal to over here, and that correct index I'm just assigning over here like this way. And then once is correct or fail, so if it is correct means we have to store, we have to adding that score, right? So whatever is score, so now I just using that score, right? So see, this is score by default 0. Suppose is correct means if it is user choose the correct answer, so then I've just +1 add on this score, right? So this is that logic actually we have stored that score. So once is done, now finally after that is if condition, I have to just set as answer is true, means I just complete this answer, I will just choose or complete that answer. So that's why I use that has answer as a set as a true. So that is done. Now also in this exception, you can just handle like, okay, whatever that error and all, so that we can handle like adding a log and all right, so that we can do. And then finally in the last, like in the finally block, what I will do, just simply I can use this finally block, just set whatever actually we have to set from that starting is answering the true, right? So that we have to set is over here, like is answering is false. And also we can just use as a state change, like suppose whatever that property we have to assign the value, and also that got change of state change, so we can use as a state change, right? So that is done. Now that answering part also done, right? So now I have to record another function that is called as a next question. Suppose user choose or I'll just leave it that part, that we will do in later. Yeah, so first let me design our HTML, so that once I design, so definitely we'll get that idea what I'm trying to do. Okay, so as of now we are good, like answering and load data async, that two things is done. And one more thing actually we required. So yeah, so based on this, yeah, one more function is required actually, that is important. So yeah, so once I choose any options, right? So suppose if I choose any options, so what is that correct options and wrong options, so that we will do as a programmatically, right? So that's why I have to create another functions over here. So for example, this is that function, and let me just start this. Okay, so this function, just whatever the option index from that particular questions, I will get it from here. And here what I will do, I will just check it, right? So if that has answer is false, so just simply return as a options class. So this is actually class. So this class, actually this CSS class, we will just build it so that this can be better look feel in our question and options, right? So that's why we have to do that. Yeah, so then another condition would be over here. Suppose for example, so if option index is a correct answer, like suppose it is a correct answer, so it will add this class, like option is correct, so that will add. Simply we have to record some class, so that based on this we can identify, okay, it is correct or wrong, and like that. Okay, and another options would be like, suppose user choose the wrong answer, right? So based on this condition we can set it, okay, this is option is user has choose wrong, right? And then finally we have to return as a simple options, right? Means that does not anything, just simple options, right? So this method is required. Okay, so this is done. Now just we have to build our HTML file, means our design. So first what I can do, I have to just design. I already has a design, so let me just create it over here. See, I just create a if condition and just checking away it is loading, means if is loading is true, so it will appearing some spinner border, or some loading animations, right? So that we can do whatever we want, so we can just set it over here. But yeah, after that, if it is loading is not there, means it is loading is true or it is false, so then we have to create another else if conditions, right? In this else if condition, what I can do, I can just set, okay, I'll just checking, okay, what is that current question index, it should be less than equal to less than question count, means till less than question count, it will appearing that questions. Like suppose I have a 3 questions, so till 3 till 3 less than 3, so it will show that all that questions. Once you complete the 3, then it should be another things, like suppose else condition, it will show this guy, like whatever that result, right? So that I can create it over here. But yeah, we can just create another component that we can keep it over here and we can show that result. But yeah, as of now I will just keep it this guy, right? So that it can easy to understand. So now it comes to this section. This section is a very complex section. So what I will do first, let me just add titles, right? So this is a question application, quiz application with the Firebase DB, just a title perspective. And then what I can do, I have to just store as a whatever that questions, and that whatever that current question index, right? So we can store over here and we can get that questions. Once I get that questions, uh, I have to just create quiz container over here. So let me create a quiz container over here. For example, let me create a div, and this is the div, and just close the div and like that, right? And this is a just quiz container, and we actually not required as well, but yeah, that's fine. And then what I can do, I have to show that questions as a that is a questions number, and this is a question text, means whatever that questions, right? So that we can edit over here. And then we have to required one condition, like whatever questions has a options, right? So this questions has a multiple options, so that we have to iterate and bind it over here. So that we have to put a for each loop, or just use that for loop, and we can bind it over here. Like, see, I've just created another options class over here. And this option class, what I'm trying to do, simply whatever question options we have to looping from here, and we have to just create it a button, right? And in this button, simply see, this is that method, right? Get option class, which we just created, which will simply return whatever that index based on this is will return in that class name, right? So that class we have to bind it over here. And then we have a on click options, right? And this on click options, we have used that answer questions, that is this guy, right? So suppose I have choose any answer, so that will tell, okay, it is right and wrong. Based on the right and wrong, we have to store the score, that adding that score and all. And also we have to set the additional things over here is correct or fail, right? So based on that is correct and fail, we have to show that some options over here. And also we have to disable if it is is answering is true, or no, has answer is completed, right? So that also this button, all that button options will be disabled, right? This is a simple logic, I think. Yeah. So once it's done, now what I need to do, I have to put some other logic over here. For example, suppose if has answer, it means suppose answer has completed, right? So once your answer is completed, what I can do, I have to just put some additional things over here. So for example, this guy, right? So if user has completed that answer, right? So what should we show over here? It will show one of the feedback, right? So this is that feedback style, for example, over here. So see, I have just used another feedback, right? And in this feedback, I've just used simply p tag paragraph over here, and here just use this is correct. So if it is correct, so that I will show that correct class. If it is wrong, so it is not correct, so that means it will show that wrong. Based on this, we will show that, okay, the red color and that green color, right? So based on this, and also we have to show that text, like, okay, if it is correct, so yeah, it is correct. If it is incorrect, so then that answer is was that the correct answer is this guy. So that also show that message as well. So this is has answer is there. And then inside this guy, okay, if it is has answer, we have to put some another logic, right? So what is that logic? So there's a one another logic, we can put it over here. For example, see, if it is whatever that current question index, or that question count index -1, suppose it is a last questions, right? So if it is last question, so it will show the next button. And if it is the last question, it's completed, so that will show that the result button. And if it is not, so it will show that next button. So that is actually the simple logic over here, we have to put it over here. So what I can do, simply I just create another button, which is the next, right? So this next question, I have to just create it. Next method, I have to just create it, which will create a little bit later. Yeah, but yeah, so if it is it is not a last questions, right? Last question answer. So in this else part, and yeah, in this else part, I will show as a button, means a show button, which we can just called submit button, which will can send the data, whatever that current is code, the data we can store in our database, like for example this guy result. So once I complete that questions, means complete attempt all the questions, we can send the data inside this result section, means result data, right? So that's why actually we have to, so as of now see this two method is not there, so that we have to just create it. So go back, go down over here, and let me create the two functions over here. So first function is a next button. So next button, nothing, we have to set whatever that property, we have to set it over here like that. Suppose see next questions button, what we are trying to do simply, if I click that next button, so whatever that current question index, we will just increment, and has answer is false, incorrect is false, as correct answer -1, select answer -1, and a state change. Simply we have to reset that all that property, right? And then what other need to implement? Yes, the so submit result, right? So in this submit result, definitely we have to call again another method, which we can call, we have to submit our data to our Firebase DB. So what I can do, I just simply create another method over here as a submit result, right? And in the submit result, I have to just simply call that Firebase DB to submit, like I will use that post method, right? So see Firebase client child, whatever that child collection, it is a result. And here actually in later part we will use that specific user. Suppose user is logged in with that whatever user ID, right? So that ID actually we have to trying to add over here inside result. See, so suppose user ID 1 trying to attempt that question, so user ID 1 should be over here. User ID 2 attempt that question, so that another collection will be over here, user ID 2. So based on that user ID, I will storing over here, so that I can show you that how actually rules, or how we can actually secure our data. So that's perspective I'll show you. But as of now, simply I just hard code it over here. But once I authenticated implementation, I will get that current user ID and pass it over here. And then also we have to use another child, which is actually just date time, so that whatever that current, suppose I am trying to use many times on a one day, right? So ideally it should not be happen, but yeah, I'll just show you like this approach. So I'll just storing the date time, whatever that user, which date time actually they're trying to attempt these questions. And then finally whatever that property we are trying to pass it over there, it is a score and time stamp. That's it, right? So that is done. And yeah, so if it is done, so finally I have to just call this guy, so that actually it, once I submit it, so it should be a reset everything properly. And that's it. Now see our implementation done. Also design part also should be done. Let me check it if it is anything is missing. So yeah, as of now it is fine. So might be 2, and then it is container. So this container should be close. Where is that container? Quiz container here, right? So this container not close over here. Actually this container should close inside this guy. So in this else part, actually it should be close it. And yeah, that is fine. But yeah, this is another options. Okay, so this option actually wrongly we have to edit over here. That let me correct it over here. So let me cut from here, and here actually this option section we have to cover that options. Okay, so this is done. Now we have to just add some style. Okay, so let me just quickly add some style. So let me add another style component on that particular here. So razor component or CSS, and let me add that same name. So what is that name? It is just quiz, right? So let me add as a quiz dot razor dot css, and then add it. And we have already handy that style. So let me quickly copy that style and paste it over here. See whatever class we are using, see that quiz container options, option, and options hover, options correct, options wrong, feedback correct, next button, right? So all that style actually we have to store, and also it has a result style over there, right? So that is done. Now let me run this application, and before run actually we have to do one thing. So what I need to do, see, I just using this injecting, we have to injecting this Firebase client, right? But we have to register as well. So how we can register? So go to that program.cs file. Here we have to simply register that Firebase client, so that we can avoid over here. So what I can do, simply I can use that builder.services dot add singleton, and in this add singleton I have to just create a new, and that Firebase client, this is new Firebase client, right? And in this new Firebase client I have to just pass our URL, right? So whatever our database URL, so this is my database URL, just copy this guy and go back to over here and simply pass to over here. That's it, right? So like that actually we have to just resolve our dependencies, or register our dependency of Firebase client, so that I can use it. Okay, so this is done. And one last thing we have to do, that go to that layout section, go to that main layout or nav menu, right? And here I will just create another nav menu, for example, instead of this guy. Okay, and let me just remove, or just I can use this counter things to quiz, right? Because our new component is quiz, and also it is a start quiz. So let me start quiz. So save it and just run it. Now my application got running. Click that start quiz, right? See, loading is appearing over here. So let me show one more time. See, loading is working fine. Also we are getting that now first questions over here, right? So in this first question, suppose I am just choosing that wrong answer, right answer, so it is just saying just correct, and also it is appearing that next questions, right? Means it is completed, and so all that you can't choose an again, right? It is all that disabled. And once I click next, again it is showing over here, and just once I click see, this time it is saying this is you choose, this is wrong, but this is that correct options, and also appearing that message. And once I also appearing the next button, because this is a second question. So once I click that another questions, now if I choose that right answer, so see, this is the right answer, but once I choose the right answer, so here that that last question, and once I last question, so it is showing that show result, right? So that means it is completed. And once I show result, click on that show result, you will see whatever that completed your correct answer and wrong answer, as well as the total score. And same things we can see over here, like see that particular user, that particular date, right? See, this is the one date only, and if you see, this is that last one, it should be is a 2, right? So see, this is that result we have getting storing over here as well. So this is perfectly working fine, like start quiz. Now we have to do one more things, like whatever questions we have over here, that also we have to manage, right? Suppose for example, let me rebuild and see this questions, right? So suppose this question we have to change something, or I want to add more questions, so that we have to manage some questions. So that component we have to build over here, as I show in our demo, right? So what I need to do, simply close these applications and go to over here, and I have to just create another component. So let me just create another component, the razor component, and in this razor component, first I will just bind all that the questions. So for this I will just create another component that call is questions list, right? Or just quiz list or questions, whatever things actually we have to do, we can just edit. So now I will just I'm just creating this guy, right? And we have to just adding over here for example, as a page directive, right? So as a route parameter, route, So this is a quiz list, questions list, or quiz list, whatever things we can do. And here one more thing, actually we have to trying to use that quick grid, like so that we can bind that list in our quick grid. So for that we have to record one package. So let me just quickly add that package over here. So manage NuGet package and look for that quick grid. So where is that quick grid? Yeah, this is that quick grid, and choose this guy, Microsoft ASP.NET quick grid, and just install this guy, whatever the latest one you can choose it. But yeah, by default it will show that preview version over here, but yeah, that is fine. Preview and normal version also is fine, means that stable version also fine. So once you're done, now go back to our component, and here I have to just create some one questions that we can load it over here, right? So we have to record again, we have to record one collections, where we can just iQueryable list, we can just store all the data from that Firebase DB. So we record some property, right? This is the one property, and another one is that is loading, right? So if it is loading true, so it should be a loading image as well, right? And then I will just create a method which will call and get the data, all that questions, right? So see, I just create a load questions, and I just using same things whatever we have done previously, and using that Firebase client. Now see, as of now Firebase client I have not injected, so that actually I have to just inject it. So go back to your this guy, where is that guy? Yeah, so let me just copy these two things and just simply add it over here, and now error has gone. Now simply I can just use this Firebase client child, and questions, we are get that questions, and whatever questions we are getting over here as like we have done, and just convert it to as queryable, and assign to our questions, right? And that's it. And then finally we can just handle our error over here, and finally block, we have to load this guy, okay? And we have to call on lifecycle loop method of this particular component, right? So how we can do that? It is simple, we can use that overload method. So overload on initialize method, and in this on initialize method simply I have to call this guy. So await and my method name, and that's it, right? So once I done, now I'm ready to go to create our design, right? So let me just create our design. So before the design, first again I will use that loading logic. So if it is loading, so it will show that something, right? And if it is not loading, means that loading is done. So I'll just put something like, okay, the question count is 0, so there is a no question found over here. So that is logic over here. And then finally I have to just use that else condition. Let me use that else part, and in this else part I have to just use that grid, right? So let me quickly use a grid which I already have, and let me remove some additional things over here, it definitely not required. Yeah, so now see, it is simple grid, right? It is a quick grid. We just bind our questions, right? Questions collections, and be shown that questions means question tags, and whatever that options, right, means how many options over there, and there is some actions, right? Suppose edit, delete, whatever things you want, you can just edit over here, right? And one more thing actually we required, we have to just add on the top in here as a add new questions, right? So that we have to add it over here, so user can add a new question as well, right? And also what I can do, it is missing actually that namespace, so let me bring that namespace of that quick grid. So let me bring that namespace. It is not properly installed, I guess, or just as of now just commented these things, okay? And then so let me see again, this package is properly over there or not. So yeah, it is there, but yeah, I think so what version actually I'm trying to use over here. So yeah, basically I'm using 8, so but I'm using 9, so that's why could be an issue. So let me simply change it to that stable version instead of that. So what is my stable version? Is that my stable version? And just apply. Yeah, it is done. Actually it is installed, right? So now go back to here, go back to your component, and now simply just try to, yeah, now see that I think that compatibility issue, right? So because I'm using .NET 8, but I'm trying to use the preview version, so that's why. But yeah, see, I'm getting this namespace, and this namespace I will just move it to my global place. So this is my global place, and save it, go back. Now I am getting that quick grid, right? So see, this is that quick grid, and just allow that actions, and we will create that all that actions. So now what I will do, simply first I will just create a add new questions, right? Or just I'll show you, I think, yeah, that will be fine. So let me first close that, and also just close that, means comment that, and save it. And what would be my, yeah, question list, right? So this question list also we can add another nav menu, and go back to here and change it to border forecast to question list, and just add that question list, copy question list, right? Save it and run it. Now it's running, and also we have question list. Once I click that question list, now see, now I'm getting that whatever data, whatever questions I have as of now, so those question list we are getting. But yeah, as of now style also is not good, but yeah, that style I will just adding over here, so that is fine. Now we have to adding all that functionality like add, edit, and delete as well. So delete part we have not covered over here, but yeah, delete also it's pretty much simple. So go to component, and here where is that? Okay, so go to my questions razor component, and just open this guy, right? And we have to create that add new questions, right? So what I can do, I have to just simply create a method add questions. So go back to here and just collapse this button, a method, and just create a method as add new questions. And here what I will do, I will just simply navigate to that particular component. So that component also we have to just create it. As of now I don't have that manage question actually be where we can just manage all questions like add and edit also, right? So that we have to do over here, but as of now this fine. And also we have to just create edit functions. So edit function also is pretty much simple, similar, like whatever just getting that id, we have that passing that manage question as a pass as the id, right? So that call same same component for that add and edit as well. And then the last things also we can just handle as a delete one, right? So the delete also as of now not required, but yeah, we can just create as a delete function, and we can just simply delete from the database, right? So that also I covered, but yeah, that is fine. But simply just enable this guy and enable also this guy. Now it looks good. And now we have to just create this component to manage questions, right? So let me quickly create that component that is called, go back to over here, right click over here, add a new component, and go to here and add it. Okay, and here simply first I have to just adding a page directory. So this is my page directory, right? Means that URI, route URI, and this is a manage questions. And if I pass that question, that means the edit. If it is not passed on a question ID, so that means it is simply it is called new questions, means add a question. So what I can do first I have to just add this things, right? Means Firebase client injected and navigate manager also injected. And then we have to just whatever just parameter, right? So that parameter you have to set that parameter as a property as a parameter, so that whatever component that parent component pass that questions, we can get it over here. So once I get it over here, I have to again load that questions, means that particular question I have to load based on this question ID, right? So that for that, what I can do, I have to just create one method which will can get it data from Firebase. So load question y id, right? So y id. So it is just simple again, just as like before we have done, right? So what I need to do, simply I just use a try catch, and in this try catch, let me exception, and we can handle exception. And here I've just used that Firebase client using the child. This is that collection, and also pass this as a question ID, and we can get only just single records. So it will return only just single record based on these questions, right? So once I get it over here, I have to check something, like for example, like if it is not null, right? Then I put some logic over here, like if it is load questions or it's not null, then whatever questions I have just set it over here, right? But a model, so that I have to storing over here. So let me just create that questions. Some property actually is missing. So see, this questions property, I have to just create it. I have to just create a property, for example this guy, and this is something, just whatever questions, right? That question has the options, and first it is just actually to blank, right? Suppose I'll show you what does mean actually. That options by default will provide, if it is a new question we are trying to add, so the two option would be is a blank, right? So that user can add that options, that particular questions, right? So that's why we have to just create this guy, and these questions we have to just assign over here. This is one thing. And another things also, we have to just add that correct answer index, so that is 0, and by default is 0. And one more thing actually we have to do, if it is a new questions and old questions, that we can define based on this question ID directly over here, so that we can identify, okay. And also if it's not required, we directly use and also this question ID, but yeah, this is the right way actually. So once it's done, now see, this is done. Now what I need to do further actually, I have to, once I get that questions, right? So only we have to not show that questions, we have to show that we have to store that answer as well, right? So that's why we have to call that answer things as well. So how we can call it answer one? It is simple. After that, we have to call that Firebase client again and call that answer one and pass it that question ID, and based on this again I will get that answer, that particular answer. And if it is that answer correct, it means answer correct and wrong, so based on this we can set that another things. Okay, if it is not equal to null, then whatever that correct answer we have to set, okay, this is that correct answer and this is that correct answer, right? It's set this variable. Once it's done, that is done, and we don't need to additionally things over here, that is perfectly fine. And yeah, and then what I need to do, I have to use some add options, like there is a I show you in the demo, there's options like if user want to add more options, right? So that what I can do, simply just create the options, add options, right? Don't worry about that. This function, once I create the now design, I'll show you why I have to create it. So this is add option. Simply whatever that questions options, we have to simply add as a blank space, and in this here, like that is by default 2, and once I add, so it will adding another one, it's 3 blank, so that user can add that options over here. And also we have to just create a remove options, like whatever that options, if by mistakenly we have added wrongly, so we can just remove as well. So what for this, we have to simply using that particular index, and we have to just checking over there if it is less than 2, because we keep it only just 2 we will remaining, otherwise we can, and then we have to just removing, and thus this is a simple logic to remove that particular options, right? So this is done. And finally we have to create a submit submit means suppose once I finally click, once I add a new question, so we have to just submit that questions in our question and answer in our database, right? So that function we have to just create it over here. For example, the handle submitted, and here simply I have to use the try catch, and in this try catch we can use ex so that I can get it that exception and all. And here first I have to just checking like, okay, if it is new, so that means, so whatever is that news UID we have to assign to that question ID, right? And then we have to call that Firebase client over here, and this Firebase client in questions we have to just put that questions, particular questions, whatever questions we have to adding over here, the complete model we have to pass it over here so that we can add that questions, right? And same things we have to do for that answer as well. So let me add answer as well. This particular, what is that particular question has an answer, right? So there is a two collections, so that we can add it. So let me bring that over here so that you can see clearly over here. So see, this is question we have to put, and also this is that answer correction we have to put based on this question ID, right? So like that we have to adding over here, and finally once it's done, it should be a redirect to our main page, means our list page, or I guess it should be a list page also. So what is my list page? So this is my question list, right? So this is my list page, so I can copy and just add it over here. Yeah, so it should be redirect to our that page, right? And then once it's done, now once last things we have to do, that there is a cancel button also we have to just create it, so that what I can just go back to our that particular our question list, right? So this is done. Like, see, the handle also done, and go back also done, and this also load is done. So finally I have to just call that overload method on initialize async, and in this on initialize method we have to call this guy, and like this await and this method, and that's it, right? And now we have to good to go to create our design. So what is my design? How it look like? It is very simple. It's just simple as a form. So I just simply copy from my here, right? So simply see, it is just simple. We are trying to get, okay, if it is new, so it is add question, or is it update questions, or it is just simple edit form, and in this edit form we have to bind that questions, and also this method which we are trying to submit, and then there is also validation and all, and this is that input field, whatever questions, right? So we can add it over here, add over here, and this is that options field. Actually this is a options field, and also if I want to add more options, so I can just add it more options, and also there's a remove button. So if I remove that particular option, so I can remove a call like that, right? And whatever just edit functionality, right? So whatever input we have to edit, like whatever that options, right? So suppose I have added 5 options, so 5 options will be here to just check, okay, this which one is corrected options answer, right? So like that, and this is just finally button, add or update, and also this is a go back button. So this is done. Now save it and run it and see in an actions how actually it is look like. So style perspective, I think it is not good, but yeah, let me check that functionality. So go to that question list. Now see, I'm getting that edit and all, right? So if I click that edit, so now see, it is perfectly working fine. I'm getting the data, and whatever that options I have over here. If I want to add more options, so I can add it over here, and also if I remove, so I can remove, and whatever that correct answer is over here. So see, this is also is got selected, and if I want to update, so I can update it as well. So let me try to update, like for example, what is that capital France? So let me add like 1, right? And just update. So once I update, it should be back over here, and if you see over here, now see, this is got updated, right? Branch 1, which I just added over here, and let me just undo over here again. So remove this guy and just update it. Now it's got updated as well. Now try to new questions over here. So what would be that new questions? For example, I want to just add one questions. So let me add a one random questions for related to Angular. So let me add what is that questions, like what is the pipe. So there is a four options, like, so first options would be is this guy, right? And then another option is this guy. So another way, and now we have to add more, right? So what I will do, I just simply add, and then just add it over here, add options, and then what would be the last options? It would be this is that last options, right? And what is that correct answer is? Correct answer is index 1, right? So this is 0, this is 1. So what I can do, I will choose option 2 because this is index 1, and add these questions. So once I add, it should be added, and you are able to see this is just newly added these questions I'm getting over here. As well as if I just add it, I will get that whatever question I have added, that particular options along with I am getting over here, right? So that is perfectly working fine. Add, edit, everything is working fine. And same question, once I add it over here, definitely you will get from here. For example, see, this is that first question I'm getting. This is that whatever question I just added. So index, we can verify also it is a correct or not. So index 1 is a correct option. So this is that a correct options, right? And once in next, this is that wrong options, and this is that wrong options, and this is the correct options, right? And this time correct is a 2 is a correct, 2 is fails. So that also will update it in our database. So let me show you the database, and here the last one, yes, this is that last one. If you see, the 2 is the 2 score, you get the 2 score. So like that. And also if you see that questions, whatever the new questions I have just added, right? So this is that edit a new questions. Let me see based on that name. No, this is not that one, I guess this is that one. Yeah, so this is that one, right? Whatever new question I added, it will go on the top. Same things, we can check it the answer as well. So yeah, so this is that questions ID, and this is that answer. So that's all for this session. But yeah, then upcoming session we will do some advanced quiz app. We will build an advanced quiz app, and also we will upcoming session we will try to implement that authentication and authorization, and then finally we will try to deploy it as well, which will completely free, so that you can create your own app. Means your own app, you can create it with your Firebase DB or your own DB, and then you can simply just deploy it, and you can just expose all the world. So that is a good starting. So you can just keep watching, keep tuning, and thank you. Have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.